Hey everyone, welcome, welcome. Happy Monday. I'm so glad to see folks here ready to get going. Welcome, Brenda, Steve, Nancy, Christine. Alana used to work in Cary. Fun fact, years ago in my corporate life, I actually worked for a company in Texas. So I used to fly there all the time. All right, I am not going to waste your time with fluff here as a time management expert. We're going to get right to it. So let me go ahead and share my screen. I want to make sure that you all are seeing that okay. I'm going to try and keep myself pretty small. Let me know in the chat, are you seeing my little title slide here? Today, I'm going to be diving into how the top program creates stress-free productivity that actually works. So what I'm going to be doing here today, this really is an opportunity for you to kind of get the nitty-gritty about this program. All right, you're going to be learning what exactly it is, all right, how you can use it to regain control over your time, your calendar, your life. All right, we're going to be going over exactly how it works, what's the structure of it, the investment, etc. Basically, everything you need to make a really well-informed decision about whether this program is going to be a good fit for you or not. Now, I am also going to be taking a little time out to teach you something really specific that I believe is one of the game changers of how we tackle planning inside of the top program, and it's called planning for uncertainty. So today I'm going to kind of give you the quick and dirty over how to do that, because I think it's something you can actually bring into your right away, regardless of whether you're using the top program or not. All right, does that sound good to everyone? I will try and keep my eye on the chat. I've got time at the end for Q&A, so if you post a question and I don't get to it, I'll pause at the end. You can have a chance to ask me any questions that you have there. Now, I think most of you are pretty familiar with me. The invite to this event just went out to folks that have, been in my world for a little bit. But just quickly, again, my name is Megan Sumrell. I live in Cary, North Carolina. We're about 15 minutes from downtown Raleigh. I live here with my husband and our daughter and our two dogs. Their names are Cheddar and Queso. They are sisters. They're wire-haired pointing griffons. They're a handful. And I spent over 20 years in corporate in the IT, kind of executive IT space before kind of stepping away and now being the CEO and founder here of the Pink Bee. At the end of the day, I am obsessed with helping women get back in control of their time and their lives, because we deserve to have more harmony, more peace, more time for ourselves, right? And I do this by teaching everybody all about the top program. Now, the top program has been named the #1 time management system for women because it's actually based on brain science and systemization, not just something I created in a vacuum for myself and kind of toss it over the fence to other people. Now, you are here right now because one of these probably connects with you. All right, let's talk about some of the scenarios and challenges you may be facing today. Now, you might be in a situation where you are completely overwhelmed and always feeling behind, right? Maybe you're like, well, I've tried systems, I've tried other planners, but nothing really sticks. Maybe you've got that planner graveyard. You may be constantly feeling guilty, right? Like you're not doing enough in any part of your life. When you're in one, you're guilty about what's not being done in the other. I know that was something I battled for a long time. You may be stuck in that cycle of daily list making mode, right? And that's exhausting, operating from that list day in, day out, because it never ends, right? You never get to the bottom of it. And you may also be in a place right now where you are really feeling disconnected with maybe who you are, who you used to be, what you did for fun, right? And your ultimate goal is that you want to have control over your time and calendar so that you can be present in all parts of your life and still have time for yourself, right? I'd love to know in the chat, what are your goals when you think about time, planning, productivity? I wanted to share this goal that a student sent in as she enrolled in the top program, because I think it really captures well the essence of what we're about here. So she said, my goal for joining top is simple. I want to lay my head on the pillow at night and feel accomplished instead of ashamed. I want mental clarity instead of this constant buzzing anxiety about what I might be forgetting. And honestly, I want to show my friends and family what it looks like when I'm not constantly frazzled and overwhelmed. I want to be fully present with whatever I'm doing, not physically there, but mentally making lists of everything I'm behind on. I also desperately need time that belongs to just me again. I realized last week I couldn't even answer when my friend asked me what hobbies I enjoy. Hobbies? Who has time for those? I want space in my life for things that light me up, not just checking boxes on an endless to do list. I miss the woman I used to be before I became everyone's everything. And Krista shared that about 4 months ago before joining the top program. And so many other women were like, yes, that. Because sometimes it's hard to put like an actual description to what we're feeling on the inside. So let's talk about what this transformation is going to be, right? How do we get from this person on the left who has all the plates spinning, and we feel like if one falls, they're all going to go, right? To this harmonious place where we're not holding all the plates, they're stacked, they're organized, and we're able to pull them out as we need to. All right. And that's exactly what I'm going to be showing you how we get there using the top program. All right, this is all going to be about real people experiencing real results. So I'm going to be sharing with you a couple times here what other students are saying. It's one thing for me to say it, it's a lot more powerful when you hear what other people are experiencing. So she shared that the top program, I'm going to look over here to read it, is literally the best thing that has ever happened to me. I'm truly single mom, zero help. I have an autistic son that is fairly difficult. And when Megan came in my life, I cried through most of the Planapalooza event. I had no idea I had another option from my emergent firefighting position I was doing every single day. There was no plan. And she goes on to share her experience here and said that this was the first ever event, and joining this program has changed her life. And that's what this is about, because sometimes we feel like there's no way out, but there is. Right. And here's another message that came in that said, I wanted to write a note to thank you for all of your consistent work in the top community. I just hit 6 months working the top program content, and I've seen great changes in my weekly and monthly planning. I love it when she said, I'm feeling like I'm in charge of my time so much better, and saying no is coming easier. I'm able to pivot and move things around. All right, I'll let you kind of read the rest. I don't want to sit here and just read slides to you, but I want you to see these are real results that real people are having. So let's talk about how this actually works for you. So this is at its core, the top framework is composed of 3 core pillars. All right. There's T for time management, O for organization, and P for productivity. And I'm going to break each one of these down here for you a little bit into detail. So you're kind of like, well, what does that mean? What am I actually learning to do inside the program? Now, we're going to go a little bit out of order here because I really want to start first with the P, productivity, because so many people start here. They're like, I just want to be more productive. Can you just help me be more productive? All right. Now, before we dive into looking at what does productivity mean and what are you learning inside the program specifically about this, it's really important for you to understand the definition of productivity we use here inside of the top program. All right. It is not about getting the most things done. When we tackle productivity and everything inside this pillar, it is learning how to get the most important things done in a stress-free way. All right. Because at the end of the day, if you got 15 things done and none of them mattered that much, but the one thing that was super important didn't get done, how do you feel? Right? I feel like I wasted my day. And so we need to shift our relationship with productivity and not make it about what the outside world says, which is your worth is defined by your productivity and it's all about how much you get done. It's about how do I create a plan for myself that allows me to get the most important things done in a stress-free way. So the 3 components inside of this productivity pillar is this. We learn how to create routines, we learn how to optimize our tools, and then we really lean into a number of different planning processes. All right. Now, there is specific training inside of the top program that teaches you how to create the right routines for your life. Now, the way I'm defining routines is simply this. It's identifying a series of things that you always do in a certain order because you know when you do it that way, it's faster and more efficient. All right, so understanding the purpose of routines is to help you maximize efficiencies, which ultimately means we save time, right? And so this is why this is part of being productive is learning how to do this. Now, it's important for you to know I teach you the process of how do you identify the right routines for you. I am never going to tell you what your routine should be. And in my opinion, you should never be following someone else's because just because it works for them does not mean it's going to work for you, right? Now, when we talk about tools, it's again important for you to understand you can use just about any tool set you want within the top framework. You can be a paper lover, you can be a digital lover, you can be a hybrid lover. But I introduce you to a number of tool options to help you with organizing information, to help you with planning, and then you ultimately get to pick the right one for you. But what you do learn in the top program is how to minimize the number of tools that you're using. Right? The last thing I want, like if you sit and think about it right now and think about how many different tools do you have to use to help you juggle all the things, it's probably way more than it needs to be. So we learn how to minimize that. Now, the third part of this productivity pillar here is planning processes. All right, now I want to take a couple minutes here to show you one of the foundational things that you master inside of the top program, and it is the weekly planning process. All right, this is kind of when you first join the program, the first massive skill you're ramping up and learning is this weekly planning process. So I want to take a couple minutes here and show you what this actually looks like when it's put into action. Now, chances are most of you are likely, when you think about managing your time over a given week, are doing something like this. All right, where you've got one place that captures all of your commitments or appointments. Right? So it might be a paper planner, might be a Google Calendar. Let me know, like in the chat, where do you kind of put that stuff today? And then somewhere else, you have everything else in a list that's competing for your time. All right? Let me know if this sounds familiar. This is a pretty popular way. It's what a lot of people do. I've got my appointments over here, which usually involves my commitment to someone else. And then I've got this massive list of everything else. And somehow I'm going to get it all done in between these things. All right. Now we do this because we've got some Outlook, we got some paper, great. And again, you can use either one. I'm never going to tell you one is better than the other. But we do this because our brain subconsciously, when we think about how we're managing our time, it divides it into two buckets. Okay, what have I already said yes to? And then what's everything else I have to figure out how to get done, right? What has yes with date and time specificity and everything else? And because we think of our things competing for our time in those two buckets, we set up a planning system that looks like this. But that leads to, it leads to so many disasters. It leads to the state that we're all in right now. Now, I want to show you what you learn in the top program is that there's actually 6 categories of things to consider when we're planning and managing our time. There's the current commitments, right? But there's also this really important thing called unavailable time, or what I call invisible time. You all have it. Think about, for instance, like I know for me, I get up pretty early in the morning. I'm not getting anything on my to-do list done at best case scenario before 8:30, and I'm usually up by 5:30. But my calendar doesn't reflect that, right? I don't have appointments on my calendar at 5:30, but I'm in motion. I'm taking care of dogs. I'm packing lunches, making breakfast, driving kid to school. Like a lot of things are happening. That's invisible time. And usually that's not being reflected on our calendars. Now, there's also personal time. Then when it comes to all of the things that usually live on your to-do list, there's actually 3 categories of that. There's the recurring things, the things we do on rinse and repeat every day, every week, every month. There's the one-off stuff, the things that come in, we do it, it's done, and it's done forever. And then there's the unexpected stuff. How many of you are able to plan for a week and then it goes exactly as you planned? Nothing new comes up. I have yet to meet anyone that's like, yeah, sure, my life goes exactly as planned and nothing ever pops up. Well, what we learn in the top program is how we manage all these different types and then how we create a plan that acknowledges, no, we've got 6 things here, all competing for our time. So when we learn initially I teach a 5-step basic weekly planning process, and then you learn the 10-step advanced weekly planning process. What happens is our plans start to look like this, right? Where all of those categories, if you choose to layer in coloring, which most people do, now we start to see, instead of something that looks like this, right? Where I have no clue how that massive list of stuff is going to get done. Now, when we learn how to create a weekly plan the right way, we see what's possible and what's not. And I really want you to notice there's white space here, right? This isn't about cramming as much stuff in as possible. This weekly planning process is a foundational part of the top program. And when you master it, this is something I've been doing for years. I get it done in about 15 minutes every week for the upcoming week because of all the other pillars. And we'll get to those in just a minute. Now, for some of you, you might be saying, "Oh, this feels too structured, Megan," right? I like a lot of white space. I'm a creative. I don't like planning this way. It feels restrictive. Well, when you learn how to plan the way we teach in the program, it creates tremendous freedom. All right, you get endless freedom when you start to take control of your time and calendar. It means you have freedom to move things around, right? You can replan. You have freedom to be present in what you're doing in any given moment instead of being half in with your brain on something else, right? The freedom of being fully present without worrying about other stuff throughout the entire day, it's life-changing. You get freedom to say no to the things that aren't important. You have the freedom to prioritize you guilt-free. All right, guilt-free. You have freedom to sleep through the night without making the 2 a.m. list-making sessions, right? I'm sure many of you can relate to that. So when you master those 3 components inside of the productivity pillar, here's what's going to happen. You start to save at least 2 hours a day because you're getting those routines in place, right? You're maximizing the efficiencies. You're seeing how stuff is getting done, so you're not getting overbooked and overscheduled. And then you're not wasting time trying to decide, what should I be doing next? Because your plan is in place. You have less decision fatigue. How many of you arrive at the end of a day like, for the love, I just don't want to make any more decisions, right? Weekly planning and the way we teach productivity means you're going to get rid of that endless decision fatigue. You're going to be very proactive, which really quiets our nervous system, right? Being reactive all day is exhausting. You will be able to pivot with ease, right? When life throws you a curveball, it doesn't mean you're going to like it, but you're going to know how to absorb it with this planning system. You're going to become far more efficient with those routines, which means things will take less time, right? That's part of why we're able to save 2 hours a day. And that endless information coming at you all day long, right? You're going to learn how to streamline it with how we minimize the tools that I mentioned. Now, what would happen if we only focused on this productivity pillar? All right, productivity is by itself is not enough, but a lot of people stop here. All right, if we only focused on productivity and those 3 pillars, here's what's going to happen. You're still going to be underestimating how long things take, which means you're going to be getting overbooked. All right, you will likely end up spending time on the wrong things. So you're just going to be busy, but not productive. All right, you're going to spend way too long planning if you don't have the other 2 pillars in place. You're not going to align activities well, and your calendar is likely going to end up getting filled up with supporting everyone else's needs except your own. And you will likely still be in a place where you're juggling way too many tools, right? 7 apps, 3 notebooks, 6 calendars, and Post-it notes everywhere. So this is why we can't just alone have the productivity pillar. So let's talk about the next pillar, which is time management. All right. Now, when I'm talking about time management, here's what we mean by this. This is where you learn all about scheduling the right activities at the right time and then actually knowing how long they take. right, think about your lists right now. How many of you who make lists, it's okay to say no, do you take the time to write down next to each thing how long it's going to take? Most people don't, right? There may be one of you that do, but usually 99% of the time, the answer I get is, yeah, no, not really. So let's break down what lives in the time management teaching here inside the program. So, inside of time management, you learn how to be realistic with your time, meaning you actually learn estimating techniques. All right. I teach about estimating in the program. So, I give you a lot of different strategies here so that you start to understand, oh, no, this is probably how long this is going to take. And then you're feeding that into your weekly planning process so you're not getting overcommitted. All right. This one thing, realistic, is a game changer. Most of you are likely living your life right now where you're out shopping with no idea how much money is in your bank. All right. Now, I don't mean that you're physically doing that with your finances, but as it relates to your time, that's what we're doing. We're saying yes to stuff when we have no idea how much time we really have. We're agreeing to do things without having any idea how long it's taking. And this is why we land ourselves in what I call time debt. So when we learn this realistic part here in time management, we start to get out of time debt. Now, another key learning here is boundaries. All right. And I know I know this is probably one of the hardest things for me, but it isn't just about saying no to stuff. It's about learning our core values and aligning our yeses to the things that actually matter and doing it guilt-free. And then the third part here is alignment. So one of the exercises that you go through in the top program helps you uncover for yourself what times of day, week, and month are the right times for you to potentially align certain types of tasks so that they're done more efficiently and higher quality. All right. So I know for myself, because I've gone through, it's called an energy audit exercise that you walk through the program. I know what times of day to be doing certain activities. Like if I do creative work after 1 p.m., I know it will take oftentimes twice as long than if I do it before 1 p.m. So I get to apply that to my planning, which is what helps me be more efficient. Again, layering into this is how we save more time. Now, I used to be a highly productive person. I still am. But prior to implementing the other two pillars, the time management and the organization, all right, this is what it looks like to be super productive, but to not have time management skills. This was a picture a friend of mine took of me years ago. This is now about, 10 and a half years ago. And she snapped this because she caught me sleeping in the carpool line at preschool pickup. And the text she sent me this picture and she said, rare footage of Megan not in motion. And she meant it as a kind of a joke. She wasn't being hurtful. But when I got that, I was like, wow. My life I'm so busy being busy, right? I was productive, things were getting done. So when we're really productive, but we're missing those critical time management skills, right? Being realistic, having boundaries, having that alignment, we're likely exhausted. Tasks are taking way longer than they should. We're always overcommitted because we're not realistic and we don't have boundaries. We're aligning our work to the times where, like, I was doing stuff at night when I'm at my worst, right? We always think we have more time than we do. And the only time that I got for myself was leftovers, right? Any leftover time, which pretty much meant never. So let me know if any of these, if you're like, yeah, I'm feeling like I'm in that space right now, you might be either organized or productive, but you're missing some of these time management skills, right? So once we master these, here's what it looks like. Your tasks start to take less time. You accurately estimate how long things are going to take. You know how much time is in your bank account, so you don't overcommit, right? And then you're spending that time on the things that you enjoy. Now, similar to productivity, right? You could just focus on that time management pillar and say, you know what? I'm just going to lean into being more realistic and getting some good boundaries in place and trying to align my time. But if you only focus on time management and you ignore the productivity in the organization, here's what happens. You'll end up spending a lot of time on lower priority things. And there's actual brain science behind why that happens. All right. This isn't just like you might You will, because it's how our brain responds when we're overwhelmed with things competing for our time. We go for the quick wins. That's our brain doing exactly what it's designed to do. We will spend way too long creating plans. We'll end up using too many tools. Information will be scattered. We'll still be very reactive. And when a curveball comes your way, it will 100% derail you. All right, this is why just time management alone is not enough. When you're focused on just time management alone, you stay busy, but busy is not productive, right? It's so important to understand that difference. So now let's look at the third pillar that rounds it out here, right? This is our organizational pillar. Now, it's important to understand when we tackle organization inside of the top program, this is not about decluttering your home. This is organization of information. There was a fascinating study done, I think they updated it in 2020, that was showing that the amount of data we consume per day through technology, through our mobile devices, tablets, computers, et cetera, the amount of data we are throwing at our brain, wait for it, equals watching 18 movies a day. Sit on that. That's like, you wonder why you're overwhelmed. There you have it. That's on average. So when we tackle organization inside of the top program, we're talking about this organization of information overload and how do we organize all the things competing for our time, right? The text, the messages, the emails, the endless emails, the portals, the apps, all of that. I love this definition of organization from A. Milne. He wrote Winnie the Pooh. And he said, organizing is what you do before you do something so that when you do it, it's not all mixed up. And I love that because it highlights what we bring into the top program. It's about organizing that category, all those things competing for our time, so that when we sit to go plan how we want to spend our time, it's very easy for us to make those decisions because all of those things competing for it are really organized. So the three components that live inside this organizational pillar is this. We've got continuous, centralized, and prioritized. Now, continuous is tying a little bit back to those planning processes that we talked about in the productivity pillar. Organizing information needs to be a continuous process. All right, just as one of the best analogies I can give to really help this sink in is, let's say you decide my closet's a hot mess, right? I'm going to go clean it up. And you go in there, you take everything out, you get it all organized, you decide what's going away, what's going back in, you reorganize it, put it all on matching hangers, and you've done that one-time cleanup. Well, if you don't have a continuous process in place every day of how to maintain it, what's it going to look like in 6 months? It's going to be the same disaster you just left behind, right? So this is what we mean by continuous. So you learn strategies in the top program that help you as information's coming in all the time. You have those continuous systems set up that lets you go, oh, this kind of thing goes here. This kind of thing goes here, right? And now I know exactly where all my information is when I need to go reference it. Now, centralized is meaning we minimize the number of places that we store things. All right. It is so tempting, especially in the tech space we're in right now, to like have an app for everything. Okay, well, I'm going to put all the books I want to read in this app, but then I'm going to put recipe recommendations in this app. And then when kid A comes home from school, I'm going to put, their stuff over here, but kid B, I'm going to be putting it over there. And we think that by having a designated space for a different space for every single type of thing, we think that's going to make us more organized, but it doesn't. It creates chaos, right? You go buy the notebook for every single compartment of your life, and all of a sudden you've got 13 notebooks, and now you're like, which one did I write that in? I don't remember. So we learn to reduce your tool set and help you centralize information. Again, I teach you different tools that you can choose from. And then finally, prioritized, right? Back to that definition of productivity, we want to make sure we're doing the most important things in a stress-free way. So there is in-depth training inside the program on different prioritization strategies. And then the prioritization talks to the continuous, right? So as new things are coming in, we build those consistent processes to realign our priorities as we need to. Prioritization is something that's kind of this ongoing skill that you master instead of once a year sitting down and going, all right, now let me take a step back and figure out what my priorities are. Now, when we talk about organization, it's really, really important to understand that being organized and managing your time well are not the same thing. And it's so easy to think that it is, right? I can't tell you the number of people that will join the program and they'll be, they'll join it hesitantly. They won't tell me until after they've joined because they're like, I'm a pretty organized person. And because we offer the guarantee with the program, which I'll tell you about in a couple minutes, they're like, I'm going to join it, but I'm pretty sure I'm not going to learn anything from Megan. And I'm okay with that because I have this money back guarantee. But I'm a pretty organized person. And then they come in and they learn about planning and they go, oh, two totally different things. All right. So I actually had a podcast episode where I brought my oldest sister on the podcast. She is honestly the most organized person I know, has been from the time we were 3 years old. She used file folders to organize her paper dolls at age 4 by choice. All right. Everything in her life is run on a spreadsheet. Her home, like she is the most organized person I know. And her calendar and her time were a hot mess. She was overbooked. She was overscheduled. Everything I talked about at the beginning was her. Everything got done. Everything was organized, but she was miserable. And so it's important that if you're going, I'm an organized person, right? You may be very organized, but not really good at controlling your calendar and managing your time. Now, when we master what lives in the organization pillar, here's the benefits we get from that. We never waste time looking for things. How many times have you been like, where did I write that thing down? Where did I put that recipe? Where did I put that paper from school, right? Also means things don't fall through the cracks anymore because you build this information organization hub. You're no longer questioning your priorities, right? You know where you want your time to go. You're not starting over, right? You're not re-cleaning out your closet every 6 months. It's not like, okay, well, now I'm going to get this organized and then it's a disaster again 3 months later. When you have your information organized, you have increased focus, which again means things are going to be done more efficiently. And it means less last minute work, right? When we master prioritization, it means that we're no longer doing all this reactive last minute stuff. Now, a lot of people can really get stuck living in organization, right? And this is what I mean by you can be highly organized, but really not productive or good at time management. And here's some signs for you that you might be like, okay, maybe that is me, right? So if you are only focused on organization, what's going to happen is you're going to end up getting overbooked, right? Your calendar is likely overbooked a lot. You will be operating kind of in what I call just-in-time mode or day-to-day living, right? Okay, what is it I've got to do today? Like, what are my have-tos? And then tomorrow, okay, my God, what are my have-tos? Even just talking like that gets me anxious, right? You will create plans that are not realistic. You might be the most organized person ever, but without productivity and without time management, your plans are not going to be realistic. You will likely, if you're not already there, be on a path. You'll be on a path to burnout. All right. You're likely prioritizing others over yourself. And you're going to be finding you keep redoing that same thing over and over. Okay, let me do that system again, right? Back to the closet. Let me clean out my closet again. Now, when women come in and book what's called a VIP day with me, where we work privately one-on-one to build their top framework, this is the number one pattern I see with the women that come in and invest that time with me, is they're typically are highly organized, but it's the planning or the productivity and the planning and time management is completely missing. They are just organizing stuff and getting it done, organizing it and getting it done, and it's exhausting. All right. So when we marry all three of these together, when we lean in on mastering all three pillars, and this is why all three of them have to be present, right? This is when we get to experience true work-life harmony. And that's why that's at the middle of this. Now, when you are living in a life of work-life harmony, you get to have the three Ps. You'll notice I've got these three words here. It's proactive, it's present, and it's purposeful. Because people say, well, how do I know I'm there? Like, well, the three Ps. Proactive. Are you spending the bulk of your time every day reacting and getting things done last minute? Or is it waking up knowing, here's what I'm doing for today, and I know how to adjust if I need to? That's proactive. Present, meaning whatever you're doing, whether it's work, whether it's family, whether it's time for yourself, whatever it is, you get to be all in and enjoying it instead of one foot in and one foot out and trying to multitask all the time. And purposeful ties back to, again, having things for you, things that light you up, your passion. And you get to decide what those are. And believe me, when you get here, when you are proactive, present, and purposeful, you know exactly that you are there. You know you're living a life of work-life harmony. Now, Diana was asking, what do you do with projects that have a lot of tasks? So again, in the program, I teach multiple tools that you can use to help organize that, right? So, one that people love to use a lot is Trello. Some people still use Post-it notes or index cards, but there is a whole system we use for, okay, what if I'm managing a project now that has multiple tasks? How do I build that into my plan, right? That is more of those one-off tasks as opposed to recurring. So that is all built into the weekly planning system that you learn to master in the program. Now, the biggest question that people always come after they see this, they see pictures of the weekly planning, they're like, that sounds great in theory, Megan, but what about the stuff that I don't know about? What about all of life's uncertainties and unpredictabilities, right? And this is especially true if you're in a caregiving role, whether it's for children, for parents, right? Whatever that may be. Or you may be in a job that's really unpredictable. We've had women come through the program that are on-call nurses, on-call vets. My husband works in construction. That is incredibly unpredictable. So if you're thinking, okay, but what about all this unpredictability? I don't want to waste my time creating a plan if I know things are going to be coming at me that I don't know about. Well, this is one of the key skills that we learn in the program, and I want to teach you how you can do this right now. And this is what I call planning for uncertainty. All right. Every single person has what I call your unpredictability or your uncertainty number. All right. And you are going to discover through an exercise, which I'll tell you right now, what yours is. All right. And then I'll kind of give you the high level view of how this works into your planning. So anytime I start to notice, I feel like my weeks I'm not getting everything done like I thought I would. That's a sign for me of like, let me go ahead and let me do a check-in and make sure that my unpredictability number is correct. Right now, I have an unpredictability number of 4 hours during the work week and 2 hours of personal. All right. So here's what you can do. You can grab just a piece of paper. All right. You can maybe use your notes app. And over the course of the next week, and I really encourage people to do it for 2 weeks, I want you to jot down in real time, anytime you get pulled from what you thought you were going to be doing to have to handle something that you didn't know was coming, right? Whether it's a work thing, whether it's a personal thing, whatever it is. Anytime all of a sudden, right now it's Monday as we're doing this, if I were to end this and all of a sudden I get a call from school that I need to go pick my kid up early or something, that's what I'm talking about. And you're going to write down, what is it? Yeah, kids all day, right? What is it? And how long did you spend on it? All right, categorize it and how long. And I'll usually do this for 2 weeks because I want to see, all right, what was my average number here, right? Because if you do it just for one, you'll know, was this a typical week or not? If you did it on 1 week where it was like something happened that never happens, it's a once in a lifetime, or you don't want to count that in. But because I track this, I know that on average, I have about 4 hours of work tasks that are going to come at me each week that I don't know about when I wake up Monday morning. They're out there. I don't know what they're going to be, but I know they're coming. And same personally, I know I'm going to have about 2 hours of personal stuff, what I call my household COO, that I'm going to have to deal with as well. What this means is when I go and create my plan for the week, remember when I talked about those 6 categories of things competing for your time, this was one of them, right? That was on that list. That means that I am proactively, right? Again, back to one of those 3 Ps, protecting 4 hours of my work week every week on my calendar. I physically create appointments and I make them sum up to, and I can change what it looks like each week. This week, I happen to have 4 1-hour blocks, just appointments with myself on my calendar, meaning nobody else can schedule that time from me. And I'm not currently planning on a specific project or task getting done with that time. I'm holding it. Think of it like an emergency bank account, right? Like a lot of people will tell you, hey, just put money away every month into an account so that when your hot water heater breaks, you have money in the bank to pay for it. This is how we do it with planning. I protect 4 hours of my work week every week on my calendar. And then when something comes at me, I'm like, oh, I've got to get this done this week. I can either plan to get it done in that 1 hour chunk, right? Or a block on my calendar. Or if it's like, I got to do it right now, I can move what I was going to do right now and move it over into that protected chunk of time, right? So learning this one skill alone is a game changer. And my unpredictability number has changed as I go through different seasons of life, right? The data changes, but the planning system stays the same. Now, a lot of people will, come in and be like, okay, well, I'm at this stage of life. Will this system work for me? And I want to kind of talk to you about the different types of people that have tremendous success in the program. All right. Because again, this is not here's how you build your calendar in this stage of life, right? You are learning a repeatable system. The system, the framework is the same. What changes for all of the women that join the program and what will change for you as you continue to get older, right, is the inputs, meaning the things competing for your time will change, which means what your plan looks like will change. What my weekly plan looks like now as a mom of a 14-year-old is very different than what my weekly plan looked like when my daughter was 5, right? My weekly plan as a CEO of my own business looks different than what my weekly plan used to look like when I worked full-time in a corporate setting, right? The inputs changed, the outputs changed, but the framework has remained the same. So this is why we have women that are in the program that are juggling work and motherhood, right? They're in that season of life. We have women in the program that are managing a corporate job, right? And a corporate job that feels like it's all consuming and eating away all of their time. We have women in the program that are full-time homeschooling or full-time at home, raising lots of people, lots of different ages, lots of juggling calendars. We also have a lot of women in the program who are transitioning into that empty nester, right? And here's what's fascinating with this. If you've been operating in that daily task list making mode for 20, 30 years, and now you're finally at the spot where you've been waiting to get to, right? Oh, as soon as the kids leave or as soon as I retire, that's what I'm going to have all the time to do. If you don't do the legwork up front to get control of your calendar, what happens when you land here is you're like, now my calendar's wide open, and they're like, I don't even know what to do, right? So we want to prevent that. So this is what I love about this program is we have women in their 20s going all the way up to women in their 80s through all stages of life. The inputs are different for everyone. Their weekly plan looks different, but we're all using the same system. And this is why the investment for you and your time to learn it now will pay off year after year after year. So the path that you take as you work through the top program, again, regardless of your stage of life, is going to be the same for everybody. The first thing that happens when you join the top program is the first couple modules is all about getting you grounded. Chances are you might be feeling like you're drowning right now, right? There's all these things and there's stuff and there's apps and there's notebooks. First thing we do is go through the first couple modules is all about starting to work on that organization of information and starting to get you grounded. Then, because we start to organize all of that, then you move into mastering weekly planning, because mastering weekly planning is what gets you out of survival mode. All right, now this is very different than what a lot of other productivity experts teach. They usually start going, where do you want to be 5 years from now? They walk you through all these goal setting exercises. They get you all excited about these things that you're going to do. But then you go back to your daily life and you're like, I'm drowning. I don't have time for any of that. This is why I very intentionally start you what I call it the ground up. So we're going to master weekly planning together. And then once you've done that, now we're ready to master the 9-step monthly planning process. Now, once those are under control, now we have the system and we have control over our time and calendar. So now is when we can start to bring in those longer term goals and dreams, right? The last thing I want to do is get you all excited about, I want to do this, this, this. And then you're like, but how? I don't even see how. So we create the how first so that then, like, I am adding more and more of those goals and dreams that I had into my life now because I am on top of it, thanks to the weekly and monthly planning. So this is the path that we go through. Now, this is just another note that came in from Annie. She said, it feels fantastic to implement everything I'm learning through the TOP program into my weekly planning and daily life. I started the TOP program late summer in 2024, and my home life and professional life have improved tremendously. For anyone who's just starting now, I'm excited for you, and I wish you the best as you learn the TOP program and implement it into your own life. All right, so again, all stages of life coming through here. So let's break down what the core modules are inside of the TOP framework. All right, it's broken down into 6 core modules. So module 1 is what we call gathering information. And this is where, again, we're going to be working on that organization component where we're going to be gathering all the information that you need to know about yourself in order to build your planning machine. All right, and I walk you through tool suggestions. You're going to have worksheets to follow. Now, once we've gathered all that information, then we're ready to start tackling the T, all right, that T pillar, time management. This is where you're going to start to master all things boundaries, realistic, and alignment. This is where you're going to be doing that energy audit that I talked about. Now, module 3 really leans into organization. All right, this is where you're going to learn prioritization mastery. And you're going to be identifying and building your central information hub. This is where we start to streamline all of that, right? We got to get all this chaos under control. Then once we do, now we're ready to tackle the weekly planning process. All right, so this is broken up into 2 modules because it's, again, learning is better when done in small chunks. So module 4 is where you're going to learn the 5-step weekly planning process. And then you're going to graduate when you're ready to learning the advanced weekly planning process. Again, people are like, 10 steps, how long is it going to take? I do it in about 15 minutes. Now, with the first time you do it, will it take longer? Of course, but doesn't anything you learn take longer the first time we do it? Absolutely. Then module 6 is going to be monthly planning. So once you master weekly planning, now we move up into monthly planning. And this is when we start to bring in those bigger projects and goals, right? We start to see how planning strategies support us into finally getting to those things that have been on our back burner forever. Jeanette, this link that you are watching this live video on right now, the replay will be right here for you. So you'll be able to come back and finish it when you're after the kids go to bed, for sure. All right, so let's take a look at what Linda had to say, because I get this question a lot. People will come in and say, I have ADHD. Will this program work for me? I am not a licensed therapist or counselor in ADHD. I want to make sure you fully understand that. I have worked with an ADHD coach, and I live with 2 people diagnosed with ADHD. So I know a lot about it, and I call myself ADHD aware. I have a lot of women come through this program who've had tremendous success that have been diagnosed with ADHD, and a lot of women navigating perimenopause because they present very similarly around how our brain functions. So Linda shared that I have ADHD and inattentive and dyslexia, and I was drowning in chaos and stress 2 years ago. I have taken this course. Take this course. You will not believe the difference learning these principles and applying them will make you in your life. I love that she says you do have to make an effort. Guys, you have to show up and implement, right? So watching the videos and learning it, but then not putting it into practice, you're not going to get anywhere. So if you're someone who's like, no, I just like to watch, but I don't want to implement, don't spend your time, because otherwise you're not going to see anything. Penny, yeah, I am going to talk to some training that we have on that as well, on the paper and document management. Another note that came in says, I know you hear this a lot. The top program has changed my life. It truly has for me. I've restructured my days beginning from the moment I wake up to the time I go to bed based on your wisdom here. So again, this works for all stages of life. Now, one of the biggest things that I'm sure you guys are wanting to know is, how much time is it going to take for me to learn this? Well, it's going to be very individual, right? Everybody learns at a different pace. But there are two different, what I consider, implementation strategies that I encourage people, and this is true for any program that you are taking, that allows you to do it at your own pace. All right, because all of the content is pre-recorded, you get to work through it at your own pace. That's a tremendous benefit to you. It's not like, oh, I missed a call and now I'm behind. But here are the two different implementation strategies I recommend. Option one is what I consider a date-driven path, meaning you make a conscious decision to say, I want to get through this program in 8 weeks. All right. If that's the case for you, then I would tell you, you need to make sure you are planning into your calendar about 2 hours a week, every week for 8 weeks, meaning there's time to watch and then there's time to implement. All right. And again, there's no right or wrong way to go through it. But if you're like, no, there's an end date, like maybe you're heading into your summer season and you're like, I want to spend my summer going through this, and by back to school season, I want to be doing this thing, then pick that date and then go ahead and protect your calendar, create appointments with yourself at about 2-ish hours a week from now to then to get there. Now, the second implementation strategy, which is what a lot of women do because their lives are so busy right now, is to say, you know what? Figure out how much time each week do you realistically have to spend on learning and implementing. And you might say, you know what? I've got 1 hour a week to devote to this. That's fine. Just means you'll get there. It'll just take you a little bit longer, right? And that's okay, because you're going to be learning new skills that are going to benefit you every single week. So if you want to go at, a time-based approach, like I'm going to spend 1 hour a week, well, then you're just going to go in right now and block that 1 hour on your calendar every week and say, well, I spend 1 hour a week on the top program and I'm going to move at my own pace, right? Or maybe it's 30 minutes or whatever it is for you. And the way this training is structured is you're going to learn, right? And then as you implement what you learn in each module, you're going to stabilize it. And you get to decide how long you want to stay at that stabilization before you jump up to the next learning. Especially when you get to module 4 with the weekly planning, we have some women that are like, you know what, I'm going to stay at basic weekly planning and I'm going to do this for about 4 weeks and really get stable with it. And then I'm going to learn the advanced, and then I'm going to work and stabilize here. And operating this way will get you far better results than saying, I'm going to sit down and binge watch 4 hours of video content. All right, I love this stair-stepped approach, and that is how the program is built. So let's dive into everything you get inside the program. All right, I've covered the core framework, the time management, the organization, the productivity. So you can kind of see these are the skills that we're learning. I've covered the 6 core modules that tie to that framework, but there's a lot more that's included in it. All right, so when you join the top program, it also includes a free top planner. And you can pick either, I still use a paper planner, so you can pick a physical planner. We have a digital version of it and we have a printable version of it. All right. So as soon as you enroll, we send you the instructions. Okay, here's how you can go pick out your free planner. So it does come with the free planner. If you choose to use your iCal or Google Calendar, you can do that as well. All right. You don't have to use this exact planner. Now, again, we've already covered my mouse is not working here. Is it going to work if I do that? There we go. We've covered the 6 core modules, right? We've looked at those already. Oh boy, sorry guys, my tech is getting the best of me here. Let me figure out, there we go. I think we're back. And it's important to note that you get access to this course content forever. All right, there's no time frame. When you join, it's not like you've got 6 weeks to watch it and it's out. The DIY videos, all the videos there that you're going through at your own pace, you have. All right. I always hate saying forever because, that's a little scary, but there is no intent or no deadline assigned to you. And I will have people, and just as this student says, she's like, I've used your system for over 2 years and I still get value digging back in. Because you may have a big life pivot and you're like, oh, you know what? I want to go rewatch that prioritization video, right? Now, it also comes with 12 months of a monthly live coaching call with me, the whole group comes to, and there's a private community. It's not on Facebook. It lives inside the same portal as the program does. It's optional that all the students are in that are supporting each other, asking questions, all of that. So you can really connect with and interact with other women going through the program. Now, you also do get access to me 3 different ways when you're going through this, all right? You can email in if you have specific questions. You can post questions right inside the course. If you're watching a video, you can send me a question on that video right inside the course. And you can also post questions in that private community. So it's not like you bought the program, but now you have no way to ask Megan questions, all right? So absolutely, you can do this. Now, on top of that, that's really mastering the core framework. I have added on 6 additional bonuses that come with the course. All right. So, first and foremost is top for home. Penny had asked, does the program talk about document management or paper organization? So, this little mini course is broken up into things about how do we get better organized outside of our calendar. So, I have a training on email management, I have a training on paper management, right? So it's on actually how do you have a productive workspace, all right? So the top for home is kind of the how do we get the stuff around our house organized? Alana is asking me, great question. Are the live calls truly live where we can ask questions or submit them? Both. So it is truly a live call. For people that can't be on live, they can submit questions and I answer them live. Or some people just choose to come on live and ask the question live right there. So I allow both ways. And so sometimes if someone's got a question, I'm like, hey, unmute, ask it, let's tackle it. So I offer the ability to pre-submit questions in case the live call that month is at a time you can't make it. So I just try and make it as accessible for everyone. But again, because you can always email too, I don't want you waiting for a month to get your question answered. So I have time carved every day where I respond to student questions. All right, so bonus 1 was top for home. Bonus number 2 is for people that are interested in using Trello. I have an entire training course on Trello. I think it's a great tool to use. I love it. It's free. That's why I like to recommend it. And it's about to get an overhaul. All right. Trello has just come out with a bunch of new features they're releasing at the end of May. So this will be getting a bunch of new stuff here soon that, of course, you will get. The third bonus, there's an entire bonus module that I call the what if module. Anytime there's those, okay, but what if this, Megan? But what if this? And it's a question that I'm like, all right, I've heard this more than once. We create a training on it. So for example, we have a whole training in here on, okay, but what if I struggle with procrastination? There's an entire training on just how to manage procrastination. Okay, what if I have littles at home that are constantly distracting me? There's a video for that. Just this week, we added in a video on, okay, what if I'm navigating grief? What does that look like? Because that looks very different, right? So this is really trying to hone in on those specific scenarios that we go in and do a deep dive training on that. Now, the fourth bonus you get is another little mini course called Master Your Morning. I'm a huge fan of morning routines, but I absolutely detest it when people show up on social media and tell you what your morning routine should be. All right, morning routines are really personal, and depending upon your unique personality type, it really depends, and the realities of your home, right? Your morning routine should not look like mine. So this is a really fun course. A lot of people dive into this one right away. You learn how to create a morning routine that actually fits with your life. All right, it's really fun. Bonus number 5, when you join, you can choose to download your own personal tracker, right? So you can see it shows you exactly how long every video is. So you can plan for it and then you can track when you're marked off and done. So if you like that kind of accountability, you can do that. And then finally, there is a new bonus that was added earlier this year that we call our small business owner resources and training. Because I run my own business, a lot of people are always asking me questions about that. So there's separate videos on like, okay, here's some special considerations for you if you are an entrepreneur and run your own business of how this top frameworks works, along with the tools that I recommend. Yeah. So Alana, when you're asking about if you're part of the program, but you can't make the live call, do you get the replay? Yes. So every month after our live call, we take the replay and put it right there in your course portal. So that way, if you can't make it and you submit your question, you can go back and watch the replay and hear me answer your question. All right. So we have covered what we've learned so far today, right? All three of the components, and hopefully you clearly now know why you got to have all three, right? You can't just have one of those three. You've also learned that it is possible to do meaningful planning, even if you've got an unpredictable schedule. You've also learned that you will be implementing this framework in a stair-stepped approach, right? We're not going to be drinking from a fire hose. You're going to learn a skill, you're going to stabilize it. You're going to learn the next one, you're going to stabilize it. It's important to note, because of the way this program is designed, you don't need to buy multiple programs. All right, this is all in one place. There is nothing I allude to in the program and then go, oh, but if you want to learn that, you got to go over here. This is why I have all the bonuses. I don't know about you, but there is nothing more frustrating. We've all seen the iceberg picture, right? There's nothing more frustrating than someone like you invest in learning something and they show you, oh, you're going to have this thing up here. And then they start diving in and they're like, okay, well, you need to learn how to prioritize. Oh, no, if you want to learn that, you got to go buy this prioritization course. Nope. My commitment to you, again, all one shop. That's why it's all three components. It's why I have all the bonuses. And if there's ever a need for an addition to it, you will, anything I add to the program after you've invested in it, you get it. All right. This is not like a bait and switch kind of scenario here. There's nothing more frustrating than when that happens. Now, this is also not a goal setting program. I already touched on that, right? I'm not going to spend the next couple weeks with you in the program teaching you how to set goals and then going, now figure out how to get it done in your life. Nope. And you don't need another system built around sticky notes either. What makes this system so unique and powerful is that it is an intentional blend of actual brain science. I know this is kind of a weird looking picture, but it's the best one I could find, but also with a heart-centric approach to planning. All right. And that's what makes it such a unique blend. We're recognizing here's what goes on in our brain. There's scientific research behind it. But then we also know there's this pull of like, but here's me, right? This is my life. How do we marry the two together so that we build a life that looks like actual work-life harmony? All right. Now remember, productive means getting the most important things done in a stress-free way. Now, there's a couple numbers I want to share because this is my commitment to you to show you exactly the impact this can have on your life. All right. You will learn how to free up 2 hours a day. When you master weekly planning and monthly planning, usually just with weekly planning, you're going to free up at least 2 hours a day. Now, when you do the math on that, that means 60 hours a month, give or take, right? Assuming a 30-day month. That means 730 hours a year. All right. That's 365 days times 2 hours a year. Now, what this translates into is assuming you're sleeping for, even if you're just sleeping for 6 hours a night, all right, so assuming you're awake for 18 hours a day, this means that 730 hours translates into 40 more awake time days each year. 40 days back every year. That's astounding, isn't it? How are you going to spend it? I've just gifted you the opportunity to get 40 more days each year. What are you going to do with that? This student right here, I love it. What she shared, she said, my life felt so chaotic 2.5 years ago when my 3-year-old was an infant, and your strategies brought me a massive sense of calm to my life. I joke with my mom that you're the reason I had the capacity to add a third baby to our family. That's what she did with her extra 40 days a year. They grew their family, right? So let's talk about your investment. Lisa, yes, all training can be found. You can watch it on your desktop or right inside the Pink Bee app. So when you enroll in the top program, it'll show up right there in your Pink Bee app, all one. That's what I love about it. Everything's in one place. Again, I practice what I preach. We got to centralize, make it as easy for you guys as possible. So when you look at everything that you get with the top program, you get the core modules and the planner. You get 12 months of live coaching calls, 12 months of the private community, the course workbook, and all 6 of those bonuses When you look at the value of those, it's just over $6,000 US. However, your investment, one time only, this is not a subscription, all right? It doesn't renew, is $697. Now, we do have the option of a 4-month payment plan. That would be $199. Like if you enroll today, then on, what is today? The 19th, May. So then June 19th, installment 2, then 3, then 4, then done. It does not renew the next year, right? I really want people to understand that. It's a one-time investment. All right, and you can see all about it when you go to thetopprogram.com. That's where you can go ahead and get enrolled. You could be on module 1 today. So let's talk about your next steps. For you, it's again going to thetopprogram.com. You'll see both options are there, the one-time payment of the $697 or the 4 monthly installments of the $199. As soon as you enroll, you will get instructions on how to go claim the planner that you choose, right? So you can pick your color if it's a physical one, you can pick digital, you can pick printable. Now, immediately, you're in the portal. All right, so this is what it looks like when you log in and start going through the top program. This is a view on the desktop. You could watch it through your phone as well, so it makes it really easy. So you can get started on module 1 today. Now, I know a lot of you are like, okay, I really want to know if this works for me. I can talk about it all day, but I want you to understand if you go to my website, megansummerall.com/testimonials, you can just scroll through. We've taken screenshots of comments there's hundreds of them out there. Feel free to go out to Google as well and look at the Google reviews at the Pink Bee. So if you're uncertain, go read what other people are saying, right? You don't have to just take it from me. This is why we put this here. I know this works. We've been doing this program now for over 5 years. We've touched over 10,000 women in over 15 countries. I know it works so much that I am willing to put my money where my mouth is. And this is why the program comes with a 60-day money-back guarantee. Now, this is not I bought it and I didn't go through it. All right. It's not a return policy. This is a guarantee. So if you go through those 6 core modules, all right, just the 6 core modules, you don't have to watch all the bonuses, and you implement weekly planning, and I give you 2 full months to do this, and you're like, nope, didn't work for me, let us know. All right. Money back guarantee. Again, there is the fine print. You have to actually have watched the course because for obvious reasons, it's not going to work if you don't do it. So when you're thinking about it, I realize $697 is an investment. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like it's not. All right. So maybe thinking, all right, how do I justify this? Well, let's think back to the fact you're getting 40 more days out of every year. Every year. All right, not just 1 year, but every year. This is a system you'll be able to use forever. So let's think about this as it relates to the investment part. All right, how much is your time worth in a given day? So again, I was a math major, so I like throwing some math out. So if you said, you know what, my day is worth $100 a day, which believe me, your day is worth way more than that. After 1 year, those 40 extra days, that means $4,000 of your time back. Now, if we look up and go, no, my time is worth $1,000 a day. Now we're looking at $40,000 of your time back every single year. This isn't just once, this is forever, right? It's hard to equate time to money, but I always like to think of it. How much is an hour of my time worth? What is a day of my time worth? Right? I know it's worth a heck of a lot more than $100 a day when I think about what it would take for me to outsource everything I do, right? And I'm sure for many of you, it's the exact same way. Now, you might also be thinking, okay, Megan, I'm not at a point in my life where I'm just looking to get more done. Me neither, friends. This isn't about doing more. This is anti-hustle culture, time management, all right? Remember, productivity means getting the most important things done in a stress-free way. All right. So this is not, if you are looking for a program that's going to be like, I want to learn all the tools to help me get up at 3 a.m. and to maximize and to do and go and go and go. This is not for you. That is not our vibe. And I did that lifestyle. It's not sustainable. This is about work-life harmony. This is about present, proactive, and purposeful. All right. Now, for all of you guys being here today, learning more about the top program, I'm adding in one more extra goodie from now until Friday night. All right, so it's Monday right now that we're doing this live together. If you enroll today through Friday, I am going to gift you a course called Google for Top, where I teach all things Google Drive, Google Docs, Google Sheets. A lot of people who come into the program are like, I really want to get a digital organization hub where to put all those PDFs and files and all of that. I love to share Google because it's what I use. It's free. So again, I always like to share tools that are free so that you know I'm not trying to like make money on the back end here. So I'm going to gift this for you. Now, you don't have to use Google or Google Drive, right? But it's people are always asking, can you help me find a tool? So if you do enroll by Friday at midnight, I'm going to go ahead and throw that in for you as well on top of everything else. All right, so all sorts of stuff. Now I'm going to shift gears here and head over to our chat. I've been trying to keep up with questions as they come in, but I just want to reserve some time here to make sure I get any of your questions answered. Okay, great question. Ollie Clark said, will annual Planapalooza and quarterly planning be separate? Yes. And I know you're like, but wait, I thought you said it's all in one. The top program teaches weekly and monthly planning mastery. With just those two things, you 100% will take back control of your time. You will know how to have work-life harmony. Things will be present, proactive, and purposeful. I lived with those for years before adding on quarterly and annual planning. So because those are they're very separate from the day-to-day life, Planapalooza is an event I hold live once a year in October. It's a 2-day event where I teach an annual planning process. That is a separate live event. You get an entire 100-page workbook that is separate. And then the quarterly planning as well. But again, everything I walked through today is inside of the top program. Penny, no, we don't currently sell Top for Home separately because some of the trainings in there are going to reference some verbiage and terminology that you're learning in the top program. And so they kind of work together a little bit. Yeah, and you say those are the cherry on top. Like the quarterly planning, it would make no sense to teach it to someone that hasn't mastered weekly and monthly planning, and you also need to understand what an annual plan is. So it's why I kind of think there's those 4 levels of planning. All right, let me make sure. I'm going to scroll back up and make sure I got all of your questions answered here. Let's see, Penny, I think I got yours done. Yes, Alana, the calls are truly live. Yeah, I do want to mention, because Lisa was asking, is all the top training in the Pink Bee app? I do have a free app in the App Store. It's called the Pink Bee, obviously, all one word. You'll recognize it because, let me see, I'm going to just go back to full screen mode here, because you'll see it has my little Pink Bee right there. If you already have, like if you've already downloaded the app and like created an account to log in with a username and password, when you enroll in the top program, as long as you're using the same email, it's just going to show up in the Pink Bee app for you. So that way you can watch or listen on the go, or you can always sit down at your desktop or your tablet, or go back and forth, right? A lot of women are like, okay, sometimes I'll watch a module and then maybe I'll be out for a walk and I'll just put it back in my ears through the app to kind of listen to it another time. So anything that and then all those bonuses will show up right there in the app as well for you. Okay, Brenda's saying, after the first 12 months and no longer access to live calls, do you offer the option to pay for another year to attend calls? We do. So if after a year you're like, you know what, I love those live calls. I honestly don't remember what the cost is off. It's not like repurchasing the whole program again, but we do have the ability to be like, you know what, I'd like another, I think we do it in 6-month installments. I'd like to just stick around in the community and calls for another 6 months. That is absolutely an option as well. Let's see, is any additional training like query, does it cost additional money? I'm not sure what you mean by query. Everything we went through here today, all of the bonuses, the whole top framework, everything is covered inside of the top program. The only things that live outside of it that sometimes people will choose to invest in, quarterly. The quarterly planning is not part of the top program. All right, that is not part of the core infrastructure. It is a more advanced thing that can be done later in life. So that would that is part of a different program that can be covered there. But the top program is weekly and monthly planning mastery. So it's going to get you out of the weeds along with all of the other bonuses, Top for Home, Trello for Top, all that kind of stuff. Let's see. Any other questions? I think we've covered them all here today. Now, if you think of any questions and you're, working through, is this the right time for you to jump into the top program? Please don't hesitate to email. I'm going to send an email out to all of you shortly with a link back to this in case you want to come back and watch the replay. Feel free to reply to that email if you have any questions. We'll certainly do our best to get those answered as quickly as possible for you. And again, go do your own independent stalking as well. Check out the testimonials. That's why I always love the Google reviews because, we don't build that. I can't shut off what people go and write out there. But I'm really proud of the fact that you can go see we have a steady 5-star review with women that have been through the program. All right, friends, thank you for being here. Again, as a thank you, if you are ready to dive in, I'm going to go ahead and gift you the Google for Top as well. And you could be starting on Module 1 today. Because the content never expires, this could be a great time to jump in. You don't have to clear your calendar to do it, right? You get to work at your own pace. Oh, good. Ali, thank you. Thank you for saying that. All right, friends, I'll see you again soon. You know where to find me if you have any questions. Have a fantastic rest of your week.